It's the hottest day of the year, so I've decided to get a big can of beer, so it has to be DEYA. And this is a brand new beer called You Got It. It's an IPA, but what's it going to be like? Keep watching to find out. Welcome back to Rocker's Beer Review. Today we're going to the brewery that used to be the best in the UK, but in my opinion, they've faltered a bit. This is DEYA. Still make big cans, 500ml cans of beer, and this is an IPA called You Got It. And I'll read the blurb. It says, this is an IPA brewed with a high proportion of spelt for full mouthfeel and a slightly fruity sweet body. Dry hopped with Citra, Muteca and Vic Secret, delivering ripe mango, fresh lime and juicy grape flavour with a soft, fluffy finish. Those words fill me with excitement, if nothing else, because if there's one thing that the DEYA have sort of dropped over the last sort of year or so, is the fact that their beer doesn't have that DEYA mouthfeel that they were really famous for. They've really sort of, I think the beers have been a bit lighter. They just don't seem to have the level of sort of, you know, probably spelt. I don't even know what spelt is, but you always think that oats is going to make the beer hazier and a little bit thicker and a better mouthfeel, but it says spelt, so that's a sort of wheat thing, isn't it? I think so. We'll crack it open, get it in a glass, and see if this can be as good as Into the Haze, the other Hazy Days. They were great beers from DEYA. Even I mean, any of their IPAs from sort of 2 years ago, in my opinion, were up there with some of the best IPAs you could buy. And I'm looking forward to this one now because I can see it poured and already it's the right sort of colour. So we've got a bright yellow, very pale yellow, straw-like. I wouldn't call it that sort of luminous, sort of yellow, custardy sort of colour. But in the glass, it looks pretty good. We've got 3 fingers of head, fairly compacted. That looks like a frothy head. Lovely in yellow, and the aroma already is quite spectacular. But let's tuck into that aroma and see what it's all about. Lots of citrus, lemons, limes, grapefruit. There is an undercurrent of tropicalness, but it's citra-led. Smells pretty inviting, and really I'm expecting some refreshment with this beer because, one, it is a hot day today. Nearly 30 degrees, it said in my car when I came in this afternoon. And thought I've got to grab a big can of beer, and this is a 500ml, so pretty good. I've got high hopes. Let's just top it up a little bit. And let's hope this is DEYA of old. Cheers, everyone. Wow. Ooh. Let's think about the mouthfeel first, because I think that's the important thing when it comes to DEYA. I still say it's fairly light. I have made the biggest sin in drinking an IPA and taking it literally straight out of the fridge to drink it because it's hot and I just want cold refreshment. I'm definitely getting this. It's got a lot of flavour in it. There is a little bit of sweetness. Big hits of citrus fruits, especially lime. That Muteca is really sort of doing the work here. What was the other hops that we had in here? Citra, of course. Yeah, there's a big Citra vibe with this. Lots of citrus fruits, lots of sort of tropical things like you're right, mango. But to me, it's much more on the sort of citrus side. There's a little bit of earthiness in there as well. I'd almost say there was something like Simcoe, but there isn't. Quite an earthy, I suppose, almost to the point of like grapefruits, the rind of grapefruits, even that lime. If you think of the sort of a real sort of, if you bit into a lime, you'd know about it, wouldn't you? And that's almost got that flavour there. There's almost tartness with the beer. The body is quite soft. It is quite light, but there's a softness to it. And it is very close to the sort of DEYA of old. It's been so long since I've had a beer from DEYA that was like the old ones. I'm starting to forget exactly what it was like. But for me, this is pretty damn close to it. It is smooth. You can see the sort of lacing of the glass. I think for me though, the mouthfeel is good actually. The thing that I think is just a little bit letting it down a little bit. It's just this earthy, almost citrus bitterness where it's a very sharp flavour. And that sort of flavour stays around. It's almost like a dry bitterness on the back end, really. I'm sitting here now and I can think, yeah, it's really dried out my throat. It is double dry hopped. And, you know, sometimes with these double dry hop beers anyway, you wouldn't necessarily know there's much difference between a double dry hopped and a normal, a normal dry hopped. Well, I should say this is dry hopped. It doesn't say double dry hopped, so it is a dry hopped beer. But there is a dryness there. It's almost giving me those sort of vibes from a sort of German Pilsner, that sort of dryness that you get. So it's more dry than you'd expect. The little sweetness at the front, it sort of dissipates very quickly. You're getting the sort of the right mango. You are getting lots of lime though, and other citrus fruits, lemons and grapefruits. Maybe even a bit of orange is coming in there as well. It's refreshing, it's light, and it's soft. That's all good. Just a little bit underbalanced in terms of the in my opinion, probably the Muteca, in that you're getting the real sort of almost like a furry aftertaste that sort of sits on the palate, and you makes you want to drink more of it because you want liquid in your mouth because it's really dried it out. But it's a little bit, it lingers around a bit too much. Now, some people would probably enjoy that lingerness. It's almost got that sort of back end that you would get on a West Coast. But there's no doubt this isn't a West Coast or even a mountain IPA. It's definitely a New England. But there's a bit more bitterness bite on the back end. Now, I think there's a load of people, and in some extent, I do get to the point with New England IPAs where you think you get all that juice up front and then that's it. With this, you're definitely getting a back end to this beer, and it makes it a bit more robust in terms of the flavour. And I think it's good. Is it up there with DEYA's best? I don't think so. It's not quite as balanced for me, but it's still closer to a lot of the recent ones. So, DEYA, you got it. I think they might have got it back, actually. Let's get some scores. Okay, the scores are in for You Got It. This is from DEYA. This is a new IPA at 6%. We've got Citra, Muteca and Vic Secret. It's a close to being back to DEYA's best, not quite there, just a little bit unbalanced, I think, in terms of the flavours of the way that Muteca is sort of treated here. It sort of comes in and gives a real sort of overly bitter lime flavour that sort of lingers a little bit too long. But if you like your beers with a start, a middle and an end, then I think you'll probably like this because there's a bit more complexity to just that juice up front. There is that real back end flavour of the grapefruit lime sort of bitterness that's coming in. So let's go for the scores, starting with aroma, appearance, flavour, value for money. Now this was $5.99, so probably a bit expensive for an IPA, but I'll give it a sort of still quite a good score because it is a 500ml can of beer, so you get a bit more than your 440s that you normally get. And finally, my overall experience. Tighten the scores up. It's a recommended beer, and it's at the high end of recommended. 78 out of 100 total score. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty good. Yes, there was a time where DEYA's would never really get under 80. And we have had it's been a while since we've had that. I do remember we had one called Wi-Fi Systems or something like that. I say it was 6 months ago, could have been a year ago. And that was one which I felt was a pretty good one. But we've had a few other ones in between that just haven't really done it for me. But this is closer. The body is closer to that classic DEYA body. But in this instance, I think the flavour is not quite there, but it's close. I think really it's just about how much Muteca they've got in this and the dryness that you're getting. But I think some people would drink this and go, yeah, this is a really good beer. There's a lot going on. but it's just not quite hitting the notes for me personally. So still good beer. Let me know if you had any other DEYAs recently. I noticed that they have re-released their Saturated in Citra series, or Saturated in series, and Citra ones come out, which is a double IPA. So maybe, and it seems that they are starting to release a few more. That was the other thing. You go on their web shop and you don't see many new releases from them. You don't see them as that often in the bottle shops and like you used to. I think the other one, actually, I saw Prost actually this week getting things like Sunshine, which was a beer which I had when I went to DEYA, and it was a really good beer and had a little bit of Sabro in it, and one of the best sort of summery beers. And I'd almost buy that again because it was, I just remember it being so good at the time. But you can find that review on the channel as well. But that one's just been re-brewed sort of thing. So check that one out. If you've had that one recently, let me know if you think it's good or not. Yeah, well, hope you've enjoyed this video. Let me know about what you think about DEYA recently. And until the next one, well, please like and subscribe and drink a craft beer. And finally, keep on rocking.